Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Ruggiero, Vice President of Communications for Quilts Incorporated, and we've got another in our series of interviews with the winners of the Festival 2021 Judge Show. Today, we've got Janet Stone with us. Janet, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
That's great. Well, Janet won the Grace Company Master Award for Traditional Artistry for her quilt ABCDvine, and we'll go ahead and share that with everyone now. For this quilt, Janet says, this quilt was inspired by antique wreath blocks. All quilting was free motion quilted on a sit-down machine with no rulers. Quarter-inch channels were stuffed with yarn after quilting for a trapunto look. Hand-covered buttons and embellishments were added because who doesn't love a little embellishing?
Who doesn't
Who
love
did-
embellishing?
Who doesn't, Janet? Well, Janet, I guess the first question I have is tell me a little bit about how you first got involved with quilting and what has kept you interested in it.
Well, I remember making quilts years ago with my mom, probably when I was in my early 20s, but then kind of lost interest in it. We moved into a new house, my husband and I, and there was a railing at the top of the steps that just cried out for a quilt. And so I thought, I'm going to make a quilt. I used to cross stitch constantly, and I thought I was kind of tired of cross stitching, so I thought I'll start quilting. So that kind of picked it up again, and then in 2006 I bought a brand new sewing machine and thought I'm going to teach myself how to machine quilt. I had hand quilted before that and didn't like it. It hurt your fingers and it took too long, so I got that new machine and started quilting in 2006 and entered my first quilt in 2008, and the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history. Well, you're certainly no stranger to the winner's podium with the International Quilt Association.
I've been very fortunate.
So for this quilt, tell me a little bit about the background of the inspiration and the design and how you put it together.
Well, I was looking through, I think probably Pinterest, something on the internet, and saw some antique quilts that had wreath blocks in them, and I thought they were pretty interesting. So I just kind of took that and reinterpreted it to this design, but that was where the initial inspiration came from.
And then how does it kind of stand out among many other quilts that you've made, at least in your
You know,
mind?
it's funny that I won this award because I sent two quilts to Houston. They were both accepted, and I really thought the other one would do better than this one. So you never know. This one is kind of my color palette, a little more subdued. Yeah, it was funny when I first designed this quilt. I designed them kind of the old-fashioned way on graph paper, just with pencil. And when I first designed it, I designed all the blocks to be circles. And my very good friend from Houston, Gilbert Munoz, I showed it to him. Yeah, people know Gilbert. And I showed it to him, and he sent back a little drawing of his version with some of the blocks being on point, on diamond, which I thought was a great improvement. So I kind of went to that. So I give him a little bit of credit for the quilt.
Now, this is the Master Award for Traditional Artistry. Tell me a little bit about what traditional artistry, that term, what does it mean to you?
Well, I think it's kind of these days, I mean, unless you're doing actual reproductions of antique quilts, I think a lot of people do what I kind of do, get inspiration by antique quilts and sort of redo them in a little bit more of a modern way. So that's kind of how I interpret it. I think this kind of has a little bit of a Baltimore album type vibe to it, but I wasn't necessarily going for that. But yeah, I think it still has a very traditional look to it.
That would be a great album title, My Baltimore Album Vibes. I think that would be
Yes,
good.
there you go. I'll add that to the list.
If you do that. Well, Janet, I just got one more question, and it's something I ask everybody in interviews. If you could have one quilting superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh gosh, it would probably be to be able to design the whole quilt from beginning to end, which I've always had difficulty with. I can usually do pretty well designing the actual the top of the quilt, but then when it comes to quilting, it's all a mystery to me because then you're sort of dealing in another layer of design. And the technical part of quilting has never been that difficult for me. And if I could design a quilt from the beginning, it would take me a lot less time to finish it, because half the time that I take to finish a quilt is figuring out what to do next. So if I could do that, that would make things a lot quicker, but
I think that's a superpower that an awful lot of quilters would love to have. Well,
yeah.
well, well, Janet, again, thank you so much for taking out the time. We want to remind all the viewers that Janet did win the Grace Company Master Award for Traditional Artistry. You can see her quilt and all the other top winners and all the finalists at the Festival Judge Show at International Quilt Festival from October 28th through 31st, right here in Houston. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.